Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along for the final time this week to Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, a tennis podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. Week 2 of the Asian Swing. I wish it could be Asian Swing every week. Noddy Holder sings about wish it could be Christmas every day. I wish it'd be the Asian Swing every week. Sean, now seeing the ATP Tour handicapper. We've had a good couple of weeks, haven't we? It's a good end of sort of form, hitting quite well on the Asian Swing.
Yeah, it's always I think it always gives us an advantage or an edge that we don't have in other tournaments, because there's the traveling involved, there's the jet lag, there's the motivation, no motivation sort of factor. And I think that makes it harder for the layers. I think it makes it better for us because there is that edge. And you don't get that a lot of the tournaments for the players are just in Europe, no traveling involved really. Obviously majors, there's a big motivation for everybody. So there isn't really that edge there. I've always enjoyed the Asian Swing because it does provide a bit of a test for the layers. They can't have it all their own way.
It is one of them things, though, isn't it? Like we've seen this season more so than ever. I mean, I've known of you, and we've known each other for a long time, but I've been working very close with you the last 2 years. But it seems as though this season is if we get it right, get the right read of the tournament, we have a brilliant tournament. If we get the wrong read at the beginning of the tournament, we have a very poor tournament. And it's so essential to get that court speed, how you think it's going to go, how the player's mindset, as you touched on there. And this week we seem to be reading the games right, even though some of the bets haven't cashed. I think we've read the match. Well, you've read the match absolutely spot on.
Yeah, we had a few winners, haven't we? And most of the leans were correct as well. There's only one or two I think that weren't. Unlucky with the bets that lost, actually. Shang against Nishioka, he was 1.13 in running, a set and a breakup. Then his body let him down. I even alluded to that, didn't I, on the podcast that we did. He is not, I think I said he's not the strongest physical specimen. And, so it proved again, he should have retired, actually. Not that it would have made any difference because it was the final set, but, he couldn't move after sort of the end of the second set, really. He sort of struggled through the third. And Struff had his chances as well. He had a couple of breakpoint chances to serve for that first set against Rude, and he didn't take those chances. Two pretty poor errors there that he should have made. And close and no cigar on those two. But yeah, the rest of them were good.
Yeah, we're reading them right. We haven't spoke about the tournament in Astana in Kazakhstan since we started the week on Tuesday. We spoke about the outright markets. We haven't really had a little catch up. So we've got two matches we're going to talk about in Astana. But before we go on to those matches, just this is the first time I had a good chat about the conditions and what they expected. I mean, we pretty much read it, what we expected in Beijing. Is it what you expected in Astana? Yeah,
pretty much the same as it's always been. Slow, not easy to hit winners. Defenders can do well on this court. It's obviously an indoor court, so you can still go for your shots, but it's not easy to hit clean winners unless you've got a lot of power. Which is good for our certainly one of the outrights, Lehecka, who's into the quarterfinals. Both are outrights there into the quarterfinals, aren't they? With very, just looking at the sheet, very winnable matches to progress further. So yeah, it's slow. There has been quite a few tie breaks, but that's not because it's quick. It's just because, for example, Popyrin today against Korda, we had Popyrin plus 3.5, didn't we? I think he went 0 from 7 on breakpoint chances, and that's kind of what it's been. A lot of players not taking their breakpoint chances. It's not a quick court by any means. It is slow, as far as indoor courts are concerned. So it's as we thought. They're using Wilson balls, makes it a little bit quicker, but it's still on the slow side.
Yeah, on the slow conditions in Astana. And the first match we're going to talk about is Marcus Giron up against Dominic Thiem. Now, Marcus Giron has had a couple of decent results recently. He got beat Bublik in Shenji. He also beat Wawrinka in round 1 here in Astana. Dominic Thiem is a player that since he's had his problems, that you've broke down the figures of him, and you disagree with the public opinion of him. That he's always seemed to be a player. The Austrian always seems to be a player that's always been bet, former US Open champion, as we know. He always seems to be bet, and the public seem to think that he may come back to winning ways. I'm not surprised again to see him being supported in the early flurries with Bet Rivers. He's now down to plus 105 from an opening plus 110. Marcus Giron is the minus 130 favourite. And Giron, if he is going to win this and justify the minus money, he's got to overcome a 2-0 head-to-head deficit with Thiem leading 2-0. in 2021 and 2022. If you look at the spread in this match, it's 1.5. Giron is an even money favourite, giving up 1.5. Dominic Thiem plus 1.5 is minus 129, and the total is sort of steady 22.5 here, with the overs, the marginal favourite, at minus 125. Marcus Giron not really been in great form. You know, the US Open was poor, and the build-up to the US Open was poor, but a big win against Wawrinka. And Dominic Thiem, this is his first match since he played in the US Open, got beat by Ben Shelton, where we've had to force out injured. And he played quite well in the first round, admittedly against Virales, but played quite well. What do you think of this one?
He looks better, Thiem, now than he has, for me, at any stage of this wrist injury comeback. But when I first looked at this match, it was priced up dead even. And that kind of had me interested in Giron, but he's about, what, 1.77-ish now?
He's, minus 130 on BetRivers, so that's, pretty much about that. And Dominic Thiem did touch plus 110, but the money's come back, and it looks as though the money's it could go back again. The Giron could get back to around about minus 120 if the market support for Thiem continues. I think it might do. I think the public money might come for him.
If it goes back to joint favourites, I'm happy to take Giron. I watched all of his match against Wawrinka. There wasn't a sniff of a breakpoint chance at all. 3 tie breaks. Giron just had the edge. Very, very slight edge. There was tiny, tiny margins in that match. Going back to one of their previous matches, which was in Gijón, I think, last year, if I remember rightly, on indoor hard. Giron had a break point to serve for a straight sets win that day. Very similar conditions there in Spain to what it is here in Astana. Failed to take that break point chance and ended up losing the set, and then he completely collapsed in the deciding set. So he certainly had his chances there, Giron, but he just didn't take them. As I say, I watched all that match against Wawrinka. It was a very disciplined performance indeed from Giron. You know, and if he finds that sort of level again, he's got a good chance here. I think he can break down that Thiem forehand or the backhand. I think he can certainly break it down if he's as disciplined as he was against Wawrinka. It's a similar kind of matchup against another single-hander for Giron. But, I mean, if he finds that level again, I'd be very interested in backing him at even money if he gets, a slight favourite, joint favourites. The issue has been consistency for Giron. I mentioned it on one of the shows the other day. He's just not able to string wins together. But let's take a look at the stats. Thiem has looked better lately, but the data's still not there for him. This season, 2023, main level away from clay. We know Giron's not a clay man and Thiem is, so I've taken all the other services into account here. Giron, 43% win rate and a service points won, return points won total of 101. Thiem, 25% win rate and a total of 96. And he's only broken serve 13.7% of the time. So massive struggles away from his favoured clay Dominic Thiem. Service hold break totals are closer. Still Giron with the edge, 97 to 96. The only 2 matches Thiem's actually won at main level this season that weren't on clay were that match against Virales that you mentioned a minute ago, and a win against Bublik in New York. I'm not sure that amounts to much because Bublik, we'll come on to him in a minute, but not in great form since the grass swing. So my lean here is Giron. If the prices had stayed as they were, I'd have taken Giron as an official play, but that's too short. If he goes back out, then I'm interested.
Yep, currently minus 130. Dominic Thiem plus 105. Check the BetRivers website. As I keep saying, it starts at 4:40 a.m. Eastern time in the early hours of Saturday morning. If that line does drift back for Marcus Giron, and Dominic Thiem does get heavily supported by the public, he may be worth a small play or a lean for Marcus Giron is our advice on that one. The next match we're going to talk about is Sebastian Ofner up against Alexander Bublik. Alexander Bublik, obviously, this is his home tournament. He's from Kazakhstan, and he's a heavy favourite, minus 210. He's been very, very heavily supported all day today since these lines opened up. He's 35 in the world. He's up against Sebastian Ofner, who's 58 in the world. They have met once before. Bublik did win it in 2018 on a hard court in New York, but Ofner is better in slower conditions. He's a much better clay player. Bublik is much better when it's quicker. So I think the money's probably to do with the fact that he's got the home support behind him and he's going to not lack any motivation from his perspective. The spread here is 2.5. Ofner receiving 2.5 is minus 103. Bublik giving up 2.5 is minus 125. And again, the total here is 22.5 with over the favourite the underdog -109, under the favourite at -117. Do you think the money's right to come for Bublik in these conditions? Very, very heavily supported over the last couple of hours.
I wouldn't be backing Bublik with anybody's money at that price. Nobody's money at all on this planet would I be backing Bublik at those odds. I'm not sure he's fit. He's already pulled out of next week's tournament in Shanghai, which is usually played in the quickest conditions of the season. So you would think if you're Bublik, you want to play in that tournament because you've got a better chance there than most other tournaments. Already pulled out. Not sure why. If he is carrying an injury, he might just be fulfilling his obligations to play here for the tournament. I mean, he's not technically from Kazakhstan. He's Russian, but he plays for Kazakhstan. His record here isn't particularly great, and I personally think that's because it's too slow for him. He's 3-3 win-loss, and he's only won 41% of his second serve points at this tournament. So not great at this tournament. Question mark over his fitness. He hasn't won a set since Wimbledon, other than in Davis Cup, where he played on clay, I think it was actually, against much lower ranked opposition. Aside from that, he's not won a set since Wimbledon. Lost the other day in double, 6-2, 6-2, albeit with a much lower ranked partner. So I'm not sure how much of that was his fault, but I think there's an awful lot of question marks. I mean, I wouldn't want to back Bublik at very much odds on anyway. I can't think of many circumstances where I'd want to back Bublik at that price. Offner was good. He had a poor start against Fucsovics. That's a really good win for him over Fucsovics. I mean, Fucsovics had a bad serving day. He couldn't get his first serves in at all. He was down at about 30% at one stage, Fucsovics. But that said, Offner won almost 20% more second serve points than Fucsovics did in that match. So impressive and perhaps slightly surprising performance from Offner. Fucsovics was very well supported in the market for that match. If I was betting in this match, I would take Offner. I'm not definitely not of a mind to be backing Bublik at those odds.
I was quite liking Offner at +165 here, and especially why on earth is Bublik retired for an ATP Tour 1000 event in Shanghai already?
You've got to assume he's not fit. The other side of the coin is that people might say, "Oh, he's putting all his efforts in here," but he's only got to play. How many matches has he got to play here? 1, 2, 3 or 4. It's not. If he's fit, you would think that he'd want to win this tournament and then go with some momentum into Shanghai where it's quick. But him pulling out of there, that isn't a good sign for me.
No, not at all. And Offner is available at +165. Offner defied the money move in round 1. Could he defy the money move in round 2 against Alexander Bublik? We'll wait and see. So they're the two matches in Astana. What time does that match start? The Bublik starts at 8 a.m. in the morning. And remember, you can watch the matches. If you have placed a bet on the BetRivers website, you can live stream the matches from the comfort of your own home on your computer or tablet. Just one thing you touched on there, it's the Shanghai 1000 event next week, and we're going to have that covered here. It's one of the final ATP Tour 1000 events. There's one more remaining in Paris, which Sean will be on later on at the end of next month. But that, as usual here, in this Asian swing, they start dates are different. So please make a note that the podcast will be on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So this is the final one this week. Next week again, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we may have a couple of other ones later on in the tournament to cover the latter stage of that tournament. But that's the last event in the Asian swing. And then we will be back in Europe the following week. We're back to normal on the schedule. So if you keep messaging me on Sunday asking where the podcast is, you've only got another couple of weeks wait till we get back to Europe for normality. Okay, let's move across to Beijing, where the conditions are a lot quicker. And there are a lot of better, more quality matches, quality players. I did highlight yesterday what a real brilliant card there was yesterday. And tomorrow's card looks equally as good as well. Some great matches. Let's start off with a match which does look like a very entertaining match. It's at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's Alexander Zverev, a man in form, playing an awful lot of tennis at the moment. He's -235 against the extremely talented, but the enigma that is Alexander Davidovich Fokina, a man I love watching, but I absolutely loathe betting on. Alexander Zverev is in great form. As I said, he does lead the head-to-head 3-1. He has played a lot of tennis. He beat Schwartzman in the first round here. He also won the final in Chengdu. And he plays an opponent in Davidovich Fokina, who come through very easily in a very easy match in the first round here in Beijing. But this is a much tougher challenge against an opponent that has beaten him 3 times and is in great form. The spread here is 3.5. Zverev giving up 3.5 -103. Davidovich Fokina +3.5 -125. And again, the total was pitched at 22.5 with over -113 and under -125. Sean.
Yeah, I'm taking the Enigma here. I'm happy to take the Enigma that is Davidovich Fokina. I took him at 2-1 earlier. I think he's plus 185, I think, last time I looked. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for this. I mean, Davidovich won extremely convincingly the last time this pair met, 6-1, 6-2, on a very similar paced hard court to this one in Toronto. I mean, it was 6-1, 6-2 suggests it was one-sided, and it was extremely one-sided. I think Zverev only won 3 of his second serve points all day that day. So, yes, the head-to-head previously has been in favour of Zverev, but they were quite a while ago, and you couldn't get much more convincing win for Davidovich than that one. And I think he could be playing Zverev at the right time here as well. I mean, he had a very long week in Chengdu last week. Zverev, pretty much all of his matches went the distance against the likes of Kotov, Kekmanovic. Saflin was a set and a break up against him. Schwartzman today had to go 3 sets. So he's winning, but he's, you know, to coin a Brad Gilbert phrase, he's kind of winning ugly. He's not setting anybody alight. It's not stunning. It's very workmanlike from him. If you look at the stats, 2023 main level on this surface, outdoor hard, it's actually Davidovich Fokina that has the advantage. Zverev's got a slightly better win rate, but only by 1%, 68% win rate for him. And his service points won and return points won total is 104. Davidovich Fokina, 67% win rate and 105. So slight advantage to him on that. And in terms of the service hold and break totals, it's big advantage to Davidovich. 111 his total is compared to 104 for Zverev. So with Zverev having played an awful lot of tennis in the last week, I mean, Davidovich has had a simple round 1 match. I think he was only on court for an hour and 10 minutes in his first round match, and that was yesterday. So he should, in theory, have a lot more in the tank. You know, he knows how to beat Zverev. I'm more than happy to take a chance on Davidovich at these odds.
Yeah, plus 185, Davidovich Fokina, the Spaniard who has all the talent in the world, but it gets a bit tight. So does he. He gets very tight. There's the old under half serve coming. You can have all kind of shenanigans going on there.
I'm not saying it's going to be an easy ride, but let's face it, it probably won't be. But I'm happy to take those odds in these circumstances.
Holger Rune, he's next player in action up against Grigor Dimitrov in what looks a very nice-looking last 16 match. So hopefully Holger Rune is quite fit in this match, and he looked quite well against our pick, Felix Auger-Aliassime, who was very poor today, and Holger Rune got the better of him to end a 7-match losing run. Before we look at this match, really, do you think that's probably the fact that Felix Auger-Aliassime played terribly rather than Holger Rune playing any well? But the market, the betting public have started to bet Holger Rune today for this match. He's now down to minus 118. Grigor Dimitrov is minus 106. Grigor Dimitrov hasn't won a tennis tournament for a long, long time. I mean, I don't know the last time he won one, but it must have been a long time ago. They met at Wimbledon in 2023 this year. Holger Rune won in 3 sets to 1. A couple of close sets in there, 7-6, 7-6. And the record this year is probably a better one for Grigor Dimitrov on the hardcourt, 13-8, compared to Holger Rune, who is 10-8. If you look at the handicap, it's again 1.5, and the total is 22.5 again. Every single match, 22.5 at the moment. And this one is a dead pick of match, minus 114 for the overs, minus 112 for the unders. Holger Rune, do you think he's back? Or do you think his fitness is back? Or would you be confident betting him? Or do you think it was a typical sort of end of year performance from a very out of form Felix today?
I didn't really see much of that match because I had about 3 or 4 matches.
It was dreadful. I watched it. It was on the background. I had Ride the Cup on. I had that match on, was obviously I backed Felix to win it, and I was writing some soccer stuff, so I was sitting there doing that. But what I saw of it did look very poor, actually.
It's one match that I didn't see. I saw bits of most of them, but I didn't really see that one because I was probably watching someone else at the time. I feel like I've missed out on a bit of value today, to be honest. I feel like I've missed out the value on Gear, and I feel like I've missed out the value on Rune as well, which is a problem when you're trying to work the day ahead, but you've still got the majority of the current day's matches to watch. It makes it quite difficult. And normally I'm quite good at trying to get the early value, but I feel like I've missed out today. I did see Rune at about plus 110. I think he was.
Well, do you know what? There's been a couple of moves today in the first 2 hours of trading that have been big moves. Holger Rune is one of them. He's gone from plus 110 to minus 118 in about 2.5 hours, 3 hours of opening up these lines.
It was quick.
That is a big move and quite a quick move. So the market definitely thinks that he's there. And Grigor Dimitrov was. I saw a couple of things on Twitter today. A lot of people were complaining about his performance, saying he's just going through the motions, although he won. So motivation is a question there.
he did win, but was it more a question of Mackenzie McDonald lost? I mean, that one I did watch quite a bit of that one. I mean, well, I don't know what to say about Mackenzie McDonald. He's done this before. You know, he was what 6-2, 5-1 ahead. McDonald. Yep. I mean, we got very lucky. I mean, it's not often that I can say that this year. It feels like we've lost a lot of matches from those sort of positions, but this time we won one. But that said, I did have the right idea anyway. It was that bet was about opposing Dimitrov at the price. If I'd have taken McDonald on the handicap, we probably would have been done and dusted within about half an hour, 45 minutes. But in the end, it took a quite epic choke from McDonald. Not the first time he's done that. For Dimitrov to win it. But yeah, for a lot of that match, Dimitrov did look a little bit lethargic, to say the least. But I mean, as far as Rune, if Rune is over that back injury, I think he's got an excellent chance. The 2.1, I just didn't get it. So, you know, that's just tough for me, unfortunately. Let's just look at the stats. On the stats that you just mentioned as well, the outdoor hard, Dimitrov has a slight advantage. Holger Rune, 56% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 102 in the last 12 months on this surface. Dimitrov, slightly better, 58% win rate and 104 total. So on those odds, you can kind of see why it was priced up. Sorry, those odds. That data, you can see why it's priced up what it was. But if you isolate matches played against top 20 opposition by both of these guys, there's a huge difference in favor of Holger Rune. I've taken the records of both these guys against top 20 opposition in the last 12 months on all surfaces. Rune has a 67% win rate and a service points won, return points won total of 101. Dimitrov has a 30% win rate and a 94 total. He's 6-14 win-loss in the last 12 months against top 20 players, Dimitrov. If I took it, I then thought, well, maybe this is because it's clay. I thought maybe a lot of these matches were played on clay. Not really the case. I took clay out of the equation and it's still very similar. It's actually slightly better for Rune. 70% win rate and a 99 total. Dimitrov falls to a 27% win rate and a 95 total. So I can see where this move for Rune has come from. Rune obviously also beat Dimitrov as underdog, as you said, in at the Wimbledon tournament earlier on in the year. So if I'd have been kind of alive enough at the time to take 2.1, which unfortunately I wasn't, then that would have been a bet. Again, if he goes back out, then it's a bet, but it's just too short for me now.
Yeah, we missed the boat there. Very unlike you, Sean, to miss the early value.
There's too many matches going on. Yeah. I was watching Manarino, and then I was watching a bit of Lehec, and then I was watching other matches in Beijing as well. There was all sorts going on. There's too much tennis going on at the same time. I missed it.
I've got the Ryder Cup on here as well, and I'm watching that while I'm talking to you. And
there's no chance of me seeing a single putt in that at all. I got no time for that, unfortunately.
This is my favourite sporting event of the year, the Ryder Cup.
I love it. I just haven't got time to watch it.
Well, it's absolute, and there's some unbelievable golf going on here this afternoon. The four balls is going to be. This is 4-0 to Europe at the moment, but I tell you what, it's all going to go down to the singles again. It's going to be an intriguing one, and lots of content on that with our golf handicapper Simon Holden, who's been in good form actually on the first day. You can check him out on at Because We Win on our Twitter account, and also you can check him out on the Instagram account where he's got some great picks there on every single day, the foursomes, the four balls, and the singles as well. So and we'll be out. I think we're going to be on location on Sunday, watching the Ryder Cup somewhere with a lot of golf action going on. So we should be quite fun on Sunday. We haven't got that confirmed yet, but we'll see.
Is it a secret location?
That's not a secret location. It's Croydon. It's not telling a secret location, but it depends whether it's a competitive singles. If it's all over, I've just said we're not going to go. But if it's competitive, then we're heading out on location. So
I don't even know where they're playing it. Is it in the States?
It's in Rome.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in Rome. Okay, so that's
out of the loop, clearly.
Right. Well, check the Instagram account out. 2 minutes, and you'll find out what's going on. Let's move on to the next match. Matteo, talking about Italian, I think Matteo Analdi. He's Italian, isn't he? He's Matteo Analdi. Yes, the 22-year-old. He's up against Nicolas Jarry, who did us a big favour today by landing a plus 185 cashing the ticket for us up against Stefanos Tsitsipas. The money again here has come for the young Italian. Al Nardi has been very, very heavily supported in the early flurries with Bet Rivers. He's plus 114. Nicholas Jarry is minus 141. The pair have never met before. But if you look at Al Nardi, he's played some very good tennis to reach this last 16. He's come through 2 tough qualification matches, and he beat JJ Wolf in the first round here. Jarry had a good match against Tsitsipas, but again, do we take much into the Jarry performance, or is it another one where we think Tsitsipas is just down tools again? I'm not quite sure about that result. But the betting public have spoken, and they like Al Nardi.
Yeah, this is another one where the odds have moved. And I've kind of missed the boat. I was a bit. This isn't the same as the other one where I was gonna bet on Aldi at the price. He was about 2.34, I think, when I first looked at him, and I was kind of thinking about it and 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 it wasn't one where I feel like I've missed a stunning value. But I just wonder if Arnaldi can do the same thing to Nicholas Jarry that he did to Jeff Wolf, which is kind of move him around, expose the movement, the questionable movement of Jarry, and the sort of mediocre defensive skills of Jarry, similar to Wolf. That's another match that I watched, actually, the Jarry Tsitsipas, and Tsitsipas, he just looks, I don't know, it just doesn't look interested, does he? Exactly. He looks almost depressed on the court. He's just kind of, he's sort of going. He does look like he's going through the motions, and I do question the value of that Jarry win, but it was the right bet for us to take Jarry 100%. But I think we were helped out a little bit by Tsitsipas. If we look at the stats between Arnaldi and Jarry, there's not a great deal in it on main level stats, outdoor hard for 2023. Arnaldi 56% win rate and a 99 service points won, return points won total. Jarry slightly better, 60% win rate and a 101 total. So slight advantage to Jarry. It's not huge. I mean, Arnaldi, I think, is a player to watch. We bet him to win UMAG, didn't we? A little while ago. He was a little bit unlucky there. Lost to Popyrin in the semis, didn't he? I think. Popyrin went off.
You got a better memory than me, Sean. I can't remember.
I think he lost in the semis to Popyrin. It was unfortunate there. I watched him again last week against Karatsev. He was lucky not to win that match 2-0 against Karatsev in Zhuhai in very, very quick conditions. And that's despite the fact that he had jet lag to deal with coming from Davis Cup, didn't have much time to acclimatise. He was a set and a break up and just couldn't get it done on Aldi. But Karatsev was in great form all week last week, and Arnaldi has shown that he can hang with these big hitters in quick conditions. So I think he's going to prove a very difficult obstacle for Jarry. I then kind of thought, well, maybe tie breaks are interesting, but Jarry's he has been in the past a great one for tie breaks, but he's actually only played one tie break match in his last 9 hard court matches, Jarry. So that's something that's kind of put me off backing potential tie breaks. I was tempted to back on Aldi at 2.33. I was actually hoping that the odds would go slightly out to kind of 2.4, 2.45-ish. But now that they've come in, it's kind of a running theme today. It's I don't feel like the value's there now.
Yeah, very popular play. And Aldi as well. I didn't give you the prop markets. There's 29 different prop markets available Bet Rivers on this match and all the other matches in Beijing. Some of them have got 31 different markets available now. This match starts early in the morning. Again, this is 12:30 a.m. Just gone midnight Eastern time here. So it's the first match on course. It's going to be in the hot conditions here. And Aldi's a 1.5 underdog on the spread at minus 115. Jarry giving up 1.5 is minus 109. And the total, as they are always in Jarry matches, very, very high. 23.5 here with over minus 104. The final match for us today, it's Hugo Humbert, a man that has cost us a few quid in the past. He has cost us a few quid in the past against Andrei Rublev. Andrei Rublev is minus 305. Humbert is plus 235. The spread is 3.5. Humbert is receiving 3.5 minus 105. And the total, again, is that common number today, 22.5. Andrei Rublev is a player that has played a lot of tennis this year. I mean, his body language doesn't change. It looks exactly the same. First game of the season, match of the season, he looks exhausted. And the last match of the season, he's probably played 400 tennis matches in between them. But he's played a lot. He's played an awful lot. And, he's talking about someone who could be running on empty. Andrei Rublev, after a long season, could be that man. He's a number 5 seed here. He leads 3-1 in the head-to-head against Humbert. If Humbert can get the serve going, as he did in Halle when he won 6-3, 7-6, he's got a chance. But in Indian Wells this year, Rublev won very easy 7-5, 6-3 in the third round. Humbert, I mean, he's one of my players that when I saw him play that match at Queen's Club, me and Humbert had a very, 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 very messy fallout.
Yeah, that was painfully bad, wasn't it? From it was against
Ryan Penniston.
Ryan Penniston, yeah. He never got going at all that day, did he, Humbert? It was just everything was hitting the back fence. It was horrible. He does have you mentioned it there. He has a habit of costing me, Humbert. He really does. So what I've done here is I've taken a look at the two matches that Humbert and Rublev have played on what I would consider to be reasonably quick conditions. So I've taken out the Indian Wells meeting and the clay meeting. So if you look at the stats of the two matches that they played on grass and indoor hard, Rublev won one of them 7-5 in the third. Humbert won the one on grass, as you said, 6-3, 7-6. But the stats show us that both guys have held serve 89% of the time in those two matches in quicker conditions, and return points won has been very, very low, particularly from Humbert. He's only won 26% of his return points in those two matches. Rublev's done better, but still not great at 32%. So when it's been quick, the serves have been quite dominant between these two. So that immediately starts me thinking overs is a possibility. You said 22.5, didn't you, for the line?
Plus 102 is the underdog at 22.5 as well.
Yeah, that's certainly one line of attack on this one. Going further into the stats, Rublev does have a clear edge in terms of second serve points won. So in the neutral rallies away from the first serve, he's done a lot better. 55% of those points he's won, 47% for Humbert. So it feels to me like Humbert's best tennis, which quite frankly, who knows whether he's going to produce it or not. He might not. If he does produce his best tennis, I suspect it will be enough probably to win a set. So either the overs or the 2-1 to Rublev, which was a 3.6 plus 260 chance with Bet Rivers earlier on, that would perhaps be the one I would be tempted to go for. I'm not sure I want to back a sort of 50-50 odds with someone like Humbert, who's so untrustworthy and inconsistent. If I was betting in this match, I would probably go the 2-1 to Rublev.
2-1 to Rublev is it's plus 260. That is what the price you can get. Maybe brings in the overs, as Sean said, and maybe look at the set overs individually. But there's a huge amount of markets available on the Bet Rivers website. I'm sure you'll find that there'd be more betting markets available on a tennis match there than any other sports book across the United States of America. Sean, no official bet then? No, have we got one official?
Yeah, we
bet?
got one.
What was the one?
There's Zverev. Davidovich Fokina against Zverev.
We're going to go for Davidovich Fokina to beat Zverev at plus 185.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so plus 185. But obviously, if the lines move on the Giron match in favour of Giron and the lines move in favour of an Aldi or Rune, we might pull the trigger a little bit on them, take the little bit of the value. But on the current lines, they're just leans. So and Offner as well as a lean as well, plus 165. But the only official bet is the underdog Alexander Davidovich Fokina in Beijing up against an absolutely exhausted Alexander Zverev. And I should give you the time again when that match starts. That match starts at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So you don't have to set the alarm clock early. You can have a nice lie in and get up, and you'll be able to watch the Premier League football around about that time as well. So good afternoon for you as well. It's all the Premier League football. There's loads of content available on our Twitter account and our Instagram account. As I said earlier, it's at Because We Win. You can also follow us on our YouTube channel, which is Betting Weekly Studios. There you'll find all our shows. We've got the EPL this week, myself, Dan Roebuck and Jack Wright. I've got a very, very interesting show. There's some great stats on there as well about bounce backs in Premier League football. What about this one, Sean? I'll give you a question. The 20th heavy defeats in the Premier League. So teams that have been beaten, like the 9-0s, the 8-0s and all that. The following matches in the teams that have lost, 16 of their matches have cashed on unders the following week. Only 4 have gone overs. They've worked on the defense.
Right, so they've had a bit of a kick up the backside, shall we say, by the coach, and they've kind of come out and they've fought and scrapped for their lives in the next match, and maybe not won it, but not conceded anywhere near as many goals.
A lot of them have won, surprisingly. They've won 1-0. Teams have thought beat 8-0, but they've won by very low margins. But if they have lost, they've lost narrowly. And for exactly those reasons. And the market just goes crazy on the over again. So the Sheffield United in action, they got beat 8-0 last week, and their match is plus 130.
I saw that match, actually, against Newcastle, yeah.
Yeah, so and that's an interesting stat for you there. Those are stats like that on the Premier League show. And also there is a European show with Daniele Fischer-Keller. We have James Eastham, our La Liga expert, our senior soccer handicapper, Steve Wiss, and Dan Roebuck again, giving you the best bets on the European soccer this weekend. There's a great, head to the BetRivers website. What a sporting week this week is. There's the NFL as well, big action stateside. The batch at Wembley this weekend. I've been invited along to Wembley. I'm going to go and watch the Ryder Cup, I'm afraid, in sunny Croydon. So you got the NFL.
Wembley? I don't even know. NFL, is it?
Yeah, you got Jacksonville against Atlanta at Wembley this week. So it's a big NFL week.
Well out of the loop, me. I'm just tennis only. That's the problem.
Yeah, you got the Beijing tennis. You've got Ryder Cup. You've got EPL and European soccer. What a time! What a time to be alive. Soccer's
and the weather's great as well.
The weather's great. This is brilliant. Anyway, so it'll be doom and gloom next week. So just make the most of it as well. And obviously, you can download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, which is available on your preferred podcast provider. Sean's hitting some good form as well, so things are going well. 2 successively good weeks on the Asian swing, and we've got 2 players into the quarterfinals in Kazakhstan. So let's hope that we can get them across the line as well. So Sean, enjoy your weekend. And remember, we're back on different days, only till next week, and then we're back to normal when the tour starts again in Europe in a couple of weeks' time. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck on your bets. Good luck if you're safe travels if you're coming over to Wembley for the NFL, and good luck on your wagers if you're betting on the Ryder Cup this weekend. Take care.